Hey everyone, welcome to week 7 of Ninja Camp. Now, in case you haven't figured out, this is our last week. No more hiya, no more ninja belts. We are moving on. So, last week for that. Next week, we'll begin our 4-week series in November called Kid Flicks. I'm kind of excited about this one, or I'm just excited to be done with Ninja. I'm not sure, but I'll give you some more details next week, but we'll see things with red carpet and popcorn and candy giveaways and kid character awards and all this stuff. So, this is the series that is on the Halloween invite card that everyone should be getting and passing out with their Halloween candy this year. So you'll find out more details about that next week. But I wanted to cover just a couple details. I don't know, things that we need to talk about for this upcoming weekend. So the Christmas song, we are actually going to start that this weekend. I know it seems crazy because it's only the end of October, but we want to make sure we have plenty of time. Sue has been brainstorming and coming up with some great ideas to kind of add to our presentation this year instead of just having the kids sing on stage. So she will be sharing details with that as needed. We've also got, the attendance sheet. Some of you have had so many kids in your group that the 20 spaces that were on the attendance sheet isn't enough for you at this point. So I printed a bunch of extras and I will leave them in those little white pull-out drawers that we have overhanging by the lanyards. That's where the birthday cards are, the postcards, all of that. So okay, so I think those are the details I needed to cover. So I wanted to talk about the lesson this week. So this is, like I said, week 7, the last one, and we're going to be talking about taking off bitterness and putting on forgiveness. And this week I had an awesome opportunity to see a free preview of the movie called Tortured for Christ. And if you don't know the story behind this, I have to share it because it's just amazing. So it's the story of the life of a man named Richard Wurmbrand and his wife Sabina. So they both lived in Romania at the time of the German occupation during World War II. And so when it came time that the Nazis were losing their hold, the Russians came in and they freed Romania from the German occupation. But the part of the story that a lot of people don't know is that when the Russians came in, it really wasn't even of a better situation they had with the Nazis, maybe even worse. The Russians came in, they did help them, they did get the Germans out, but they began to instill a system of communism. And with that communism came a lot of control and a loss of freedom, especially freedom of religion. And so many Christians, most Christians were persecuted, tortured, beaten, imprisoned, all of that. People were hiding, trying to do underground churches and things like that just to be able to share their love of Christ and the gospel with others. So Richard Wurmbrand was a pastor in Romania at this time, and he was the only one willing to stand up at this Congress of Cults, that it was called, and speak out against what the government was doing. And he urged his fellow citizens and his fellow clergymen to not partner up with the government, but instead to stand for the truths that they knew and loved about Jesus. Well, as you can imagine, that didn't go over very well. And over a course of time, Richard was imprisoned for his beliefs, for sharing Jesus, for spreading the gospel. And he was imprisoned in the worst camps for 14 years, where he was beaten ruthlessly, just tortured, seeing some of the worst things you could ever imagine seeing and experiencing. But all because he would not denounce the name of Christ, because he would not share the names of the people that he was helping, that he was sharing the gospel with. So 14 years of imprisonment. And during that time, one of the most heart-wrenching parts is when you're seeing him just getting beaten, and he looks at this Russian comrade who is beating him, and this is the same man who beat him ruthlessly over and over and over again. And he looks at this Russian comrade and he says, "Do you not have any pity in your heart?" And the Russian comrade, in not so many words, explains that because he doesn't believe in a God, that there is no punishment for evil. So for him, evil really means nothing, that he has free reign to do whatever he wants, and he does. And that's just so heart-wrenching when you see it. I encourage you really, read the book, Tortured for Christ. It's amazing. But tied into our lesson, right, this beautiful act of forgiveness that comes. If anybody had a right to be bitter, it's this Richard Wurmbrand and his wife Sabina, who is also taken and in prison, leaving their son an orphan living on the streets. But when he, 14 years later, is ransomed and released from prison, him and his wife go off to start the organization that we now call and know as the Voice of the Martyrs. And years later in his books, and I saw a couple speaking things that he did, and he actually makes a public announcement of forgiveness for this comrade who just beat him and just tried to destroy everything that he had. It's such an amazing story of taking off that bitterness and putting on forgiveness. And he does it for one reason only, and that's because of the love of Christ, because we are called to forgive. So if you have the opportunity, Tortured for Christ is the name of the book. If ever that free preview becomes a link that I can share, I will definitely share it. It's an amazing story to see. So in the meantime, I'm going to keep praying for you guys. I know forgiveness is something we all struggle with from time to time. It's easy to hold a grudge and bitterness, but I'm praying for you guys, and I ask you to pray for me that I wouldn't be somebody who holds a grudge or bitterness as well. So, hey, I've taken enough of your time this week. Have a great week. I will see you all this weekend. See you soon.